In the previous video, I demonstrated a relay controller and file load and save, status, checking the status and configuration. The temperature controller, the 3-channel relay controller with digital pot, operates essentially the same way. We had previously connected to this set of controllers. We can select between them. I clicked on TC1, hit refresh here. I'm going to go to the Config Designer GUI. Again, we can click on our inputs. Looks like we have input A1 defined as toggle, and we'll toggle relay 1 status 1. Input A2, we have pot decrement. Previously described these settings here. So one thing that's different here would be hold repeat. This allows you to press the switch and hold it down. Every 100 milliseconds it will increment or decrement again. If you had this set to 1 millisecond, it would ramp up and down too quickly. About a tenth of a second is usually pretty good. If you have 30 steps, it will take you 3 seconds to ramp up and down through the full value range. Typically both pots are selected, but if you're using 2 singles, you might only select 1 pot. If you use them in a complementary fashion, probably have both selected. And then finally you'll have a pot increment for defined for another input, so you can go both up and down. I'll go to the pot 1 definition, complementary with negative taper. This can get a bit tricky here, but in general, if you find on the aircraft you have the indicators lighting up high to low rather than low to high, you might reverse the indicators here. If it's set to reverse, change it to normal, or vice versa. The pot value range can be anywhere from 11 ohms to 40,000 ohms. Looks like this one's configured for 11 to 1,000 ohms, 21 steps. Typically our default, our keypad has 7 LED indicators, so typically we like to select some multiple of 7. So there are 21 steps divided by 7 indicators. It will be 3 button presses, 3 up presses to light up the next indicator. We have the default step set to 11, and then we have 7 indicators defined here, which will light up and extinguish appropriately as you ramp up and down this pot value here. We also have digital voltage outputs. Looks like DAC number 1 is enabled. You can range anywhere from 0 to 30 volts, though this is going to depend. It can't exceed the voltage on the aircraft, so if your current voltage is 28 volts, your maximum voltage level will be nearly 28 volts. So you define your low and your high value, number of steps, default steps again, and the button presses are defined just like the pot here. Pot decrement, you would change this to DAC, decrement, or increment. Same values apply with the targets and the hold repeat. I'll go to the status page here, turn on auto refresh. Looks like we have, again, about 25 volts here. We can see the current step of the pot. Again, you could do the math. We were ranging from 10 ohms to approximately 1,000 ohms. We're on step number 10 here, so we should be somewhere in the 500 ohms range. If you were to put a meter on this pot output, you should see somewhere around 500 ohms. You can see what indicators are illuminated. This should match up with what you're seeing on your keypads in the cabin. And you should see when you press your virtual switch, looks like these indicators are extinguishing here. Looks like pressing A3 is incrementing the pot there. And you see these indicators light up, and you see your steps change here as well. Again, you can do the same with the relay controller. You can see if you're getting your switch press and if the proper function is occurring in your relays and your indicators.